Mom, maybe Dad someday. I wanted to make a video for you of just a few things I've learned about breathing techniques, a little bit on alignment, and just some stretching that most of it's probably not really new to you, but just like as a reminder, something you can reference. And so from San Francisco, one of the first things we learned in well, actually, I was taking senior and restorative yoga because I really wanted something that was just calming. And that is probably the best class I've ever taken in my whole life. And one of the things we learned was called just a simple 3-part breath, where we really learn to breathe deeply and not, it's not hyperventilating breathing. It's not about taking really wide breaths, not really long breaths, but the 3-part breath is where, and Mom, you probably have been familiar with diaphragm breathing because that's how we breathe when we use wind instruments. So first, a little couple notes about posture is knowing where our pelvic bones are, and just actually, let's start from the top. And so a massage therapist talked to me about this one time when I was in the Navy, and just being here on the computer, how there's these muscles, and I don't know exactly where they are, have to work harder because our bodies aren't meant to do this. They're meant to do this. And look how slight of a difference it is from here to here. Just in your back, how you're stacking your shoulders over your hips as opposed to here. Same thing like when you push your knees in front of your toes. I know you can't see my toes right now, but when your knees are in front of your toes, all your body's going at your knees. Whereas if you're sitting back, your body weight is more on top of your hips and not just on your knees. And you can use these muscles here and your back muscles, opposed to when your knees are forward, the weight of your body's just shooting into your knees. So staying back, and whenever we go to sit down, which we'll come back to a little bit later. But let's go back to the shoulders and the hips. One thing I like to do when just resetting, either in the breath or in some stretching, is really to just, if you're just wherever you are here, just taking, and look how I didn't have to do anything. I just took a breath. If you're here and you just take a breath, it brings you back up. And then when you breathe out, sending your shoulders back, and your, probably could have worn a different bra so you could see my shoulder blades a little bit better. But so in any day, your posture may not just be nice where you're just sitting, and you could just breathe in, and then when you come back down, just let your shoulders relax down and your shoulder blades come together, as opposed to just them being separate. Let them come together a little bit, which is the same as, instead of them being forward, your shoulders being forward, come back. You can kind of just think about where you want to target that, and maybe trying to do it simultaneously, as opposed to shoulders being forward, sending them back, as opposed to shoulder blades being separate, bring them together. And then also thinking, another way to think about this is having your shoulders stacked on your hips. Right here, if I know where my pelvic bones are, I'm forward here. Same thing what we did to our knees, right? And we're shooting a lot of weight into our lower back. So when we stack, realign our shoulders over our hips, and then we also want to make sure that our lower back doesn't arch or come too far forward, because you could, and it's really hard to do once you set, to arch too much. But the two real main things you want to really think about when aligning your body, when you're getting ready to breathe and stretch, is having your shoulders over your hips and being able to come back, know where your hips are. And this is going to be a little more important actually when we sit down. And that's why I wanted to talk about this, is because when we have our neutral spine, it means that our pelvic bones are going pretty much straight up and down. There might be a slight tilt, but they're going straight up and down, as opposed to if my back is arched, see how now I'm shooting this way, or if my back is tilted, I'm shooting that way. And so you'll see when we sit down how making sure when we're sitting with our pelvic bone up and down and our shoulders stacked on our hips, how this can provide so much back pain relief. So let's look at that before we look into the 3-part breath, another little breathing exercise I have. So of course, we might be used to sitting like this. Really and if we get our hands back on our shoulder bones, we know we're just tilting. Or we might try to kind of overcompensate and end up sitting like this, when really we want to just be sitting like this. Really finding your sit bones, and I am sitting on a towel. So if sitting in this way is comfortable for you, I will also, you might want to have your towel a little bit higher up to relieve your knees. And I'm also going to talk about the same kind of posture on a chair. But if you decide that you do want to sit on the floor, and I know sometimes either of you might have to do that with Logan, so kind of thinking, and with this higher up, you might be able to notice the difference between this and this. My pelvic bones, I'm sitting on my pelvic bones. And my shoulders are really on top of my hips. Okay, and I'm going to leave this faceless a little bit, just so you have a really good picture of my alignment as we look at this breath. And you can maybe be able to see the breath in my body too. And so the 3-part breath is when we take a deep breath and we really expand our diaphragm first before really breathing into the lungs. And so it's as if, kind of feels counterintuitive at first, because we're used to, when sometimes you see someone take a breath, you see them do this. When really we have a diaphragm that we can fill up to bring more air to our body. So if we got into our posture, we're thinking about deep breath, shoulders back, shoulder blades together, and our shoulders on top of our hips. And when we take a deep breath, we allow this balloon inside of our belly to fill up. See it? So we want to go there first. And then as we continue to breathe in, our chest might rise a little bit. And then here's another funny part. The 3rd part of the breath is breathing into what my yoga teachers say, the collarbone, which took me a little while to kind of feel. So if you don't feel it right away, you can kind of just really think of breathing into your neck. But when you really start connected to your breath, you'll really feel your belly expand, your lungs expand, and then you'll start to feel your breath in here before it really, it's filling up all the way into your neck and then, out of your mouth and nose. So the first thing when we do, and we want to take the breath in through our nose and out through our mouth. So we're taking a deep breath. I'm just going to do it so you can kind of see it. It won't be super dramatic, but and so when we take that deep breath in, see how my stomach is still expanded, and as my lungs come up, it might look like I'm sucking in here, but you'll see it's still, my belly's still expanded right here. So let me do that again. And you won't see this, you won't be able to see it in the collarbone. So I'm going to allow the belly to expand, the ribs to expand out, and then breathe into here. And then it's the reverse when we breathe out. So I'm going to do that now with the breath in and the breath out. And see how I'm deflating my belly. Now I'm just going to take 3 of those breaths so you can just kind of watch what my body does. And something we'll do when I come home is when you do this back to back, you can feel the other person's breath crawl up their spine. And that is just the coolest part. And I would love to say you guys could probably do this with Logan, but the height difference, obviously, probably not going to see that back to back to each other. So you kind of do need someone similar in height. Although you can, even if you do it back to back with someone different in height, you can still feel the breath moving through their body, just not the same way you really feel it come up their spine and back down their spine when you sit really back to back with someone. So I'm just going to take 3 of those breaths just so you can kind of see how my body moves. And if you have any questions about this 3-part breath, let me know after the video. Okay, and let me show you a little bit about that same sitting posture in a chair. That's probably going to be the way both of you will want to sit, or just can't get Dad to watch this video, you Mom. And I'm sure you know about good posture in a chair, but just being able to see someone else's, the difference between this and this. It's so itty bitty, but oh my gosh, look at where the weight is shooting down into my lower back versus here. It's such a difference, just a small difference. Just being able to see. I like to see that. I watch myself in the mirror all the time, just thinking about the difference between here and here and trying to carry that with me throughout the day. So just one other quick breathing technique I want to show you, which is a little more just accessible in daily life. Because you might feel like the 3-part breath, you really need to sit and centered, which really isn't true. You can do it standing in a grocery store, in line, or wherever you may be. But this one, this one might kind of look funny because we're going to plug our nose a little bit. So you may not feel as comfortable doing it in public. You know that I will just do lunges while I'm in line at the grocery store. I have no problem doing that at the gas station, or, dancing down the aisle. So for me, that's not an issue, but I understand if you may not want to plug your nose in the grocery store line. So this one, they both allow you to use them in different ways. So you might, in the grocery store, just kind of silently do your 3-part breath. But when you're sitting in your car or wherever the case may be, you might use this, this other breathing technique. And with this breathing technique, you're going to put your pointer finger and your middle finger down. And you're going to plug one nostril and breathe in. And then with your ring finger, you're going to plug both your nostrils. And then you're going to open up your thumb to the other side and breathe out. And when you're doing this breathing, your mouth is closed. So this is solely nostril breathing. But what's this breath allows you to do is to circulate your oxygen in a different way, and really concentrating through allowing it to circulate in and out just through your nose. And you'll feel a difference immediately in your body and bringing some calm to your thoughts. And so this is something, if you're feeling anxious about something, you can just kind of come to this breath and do it, 5-10 times, as much as you want, obviously, just to kind of refocus on your breath. And you can also do it as a preventative measure. You can just do this as many times as you need during a day or when you wake up in the morning, whatever your needs are. So I'm just going to, again, like before, do it a little, just do it a few times so you can kind of see how it is. And I didn't say with a 3-part breath, you kind of want to maybe do 5 seconds in, count to 5, and then 5 seconds out. And you could really play with that too. You could do 4 in and then 6 out, or 5 in, maybe 8 out, and then reverse it. So there's no right or wrong. Just counting sometimes allows you to take your mind off your thoughts and really focusing it on the breath. Even with the counting, you're not really focusing on the counting. That counting allows you to really focus in on the breath. So I'm just going to do a few of the nostril breaths, and I'm just going to do even 5 across the board. 5 in, hold for 5, 5 out. Or that's what I'm going to try to do anyway. Don't hold me to it if my counting is a little off. So I didn't say you breathe in, hold, breathe out, breathe in, hold, breathe out. Breathe in. Sometimes it feels so good to breathe in, breathe out. I forget that hold. And that hold really kind of allows you to have a little anticipation with the breath. And it allows for that release to be a little more enjoyable, a little more intense, but not in a negatively intense way. So I'm going to stop there for the breathing exercises, and then I'm going to do a video with just some stretches you can do in the morning. Again, for that, it's probably not going to be anything you've never seen before, but just a little reminder of some things that just feel so good to do to your body in the morning or at night, really any time during the day. Again, I'm doing it at the grocery store or wherever I want. So I love you. I hope you enjoyed this video.